You are listening to a new episode of AVIAPRENEURS podcast. This is Adnan Baranbo, and our topic for today's episode is continuous airworthiness management. And my guest for today to discuss this topic is Mr. Stephan Krainer. Good day, Stephan. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi, Adnan. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate your time. So, Stephan, I knew you through LinkedIn. I saw that picture of you hugging your dream car, the Porsche Taycan GTS car. It was an amazing picture and I loved it. And I loved how you mentioned that finally your business success, your entrepreneurial success helped you achieve your personal dreams. Can you tell us about that car and that dream and that success?
Yes, no, certainly. Before, and I still have, I had the Tesla Model X because we have, I think half of the stuff has Tesla company cars because we think that it's the time to think about sustainability and think about how we leave the earth behind for our kids. I mean, we are in a business segment that has quite a huge CO2 footprint, so we should do anything we can. But that was not the original idea because actually I'm quite a big petrol head. The car I had before the Tesla was, for example, a BMW M2 because it was a fun car. But Indeed. Then I got into the electrics and it's just the drivetrain is something else. The electric drivetrain compares to the combustion engine, like the steam engine to the combustion engine. It's just outdated. The whole reaction of it is just, it's a whole different game. You can't compare it. So that's where the switch to electric came from. And I was doing until about a year ago Taekwondo. So I have intermediate belts in Taekwondo, and our grandmaster had a Taycan. He always had powerful cars, and he said, "Well, I actually deserve it to have it," and he does. His school is by far the biggest one in Europe with multiple locations, and so that's also, he had certainly influence to our network idea.
So you enjoy it now? You love it?
Very much, yeah, very much. And then I've tried it, and I did the math. I'm doing so much, so I have such a high mileage on Tesla. The Tesla would have been more expensive than the Porsche. So the switch was easy. And the Porsche is a car that perfectly fits to us. It may sound strange because it's you could say it's a posh car, but the thing is how it's made is just, it perfectly has the same spirit like we have. And that was what the post was all about. We are certainly not the cheapest. We are certainly not the flashiest, but at the end of the day, everything is made as good as possible, but there is no shortcut made. Also on that car, I recently I vacuumed the carpets, so I looked underneath to the pedals, and I found that the linkage from the brake pedal is made out of carbon fiber. No one ever sees that, but underneath it's made proper. So it's the car is a perfect analogy to us, to Primus Aero, and it's, yeah, man, I tell you, when you get in the morning and I have a few pens when I leave home, it puts a smile on my face.
Amazing. This is the most important thing. Happy to hear. So Stephan, you are an aircraft mechanic by trade, and previously to setting up your own business, you have been in charge of various airworthiness and maintenance management positions as a manager and as a post holder for many leading European AOC holders, such as G-Jet, Afconjet, Majestic Aviation, and Robin Hood Aviation. And in 2010, you decided to set up Primus Aero. Can you tell us more about Primus Aero?
Yes, of course. As you said, I founded it 2010. The reason behind it was I started my first business when I was 21. So it's just sometimes I have a hard time carrying silly decisions done by management, let's say so. And so I said, okay, you had your own business before. then I was in employment, and then the company went belly up. 2 companies in a row went belly up. So I said, nah, not doing this again. I want to be in control of it again myself. And the original plan was quite nimble. The idea was to give AOC holders, and in Austria we have quite a few business jet operators, as you mentioned, Afghanjet, Majestic was there, International Jet Management is here, MJet, Sparfell now. So it's there are dozens of AOCs in Austria, and a lot of those AOCs are small. They have 1, 2, 3 jets, and for them it doesn't make sense to run a whole CAMO organization by themselves. So the idea was to support all those small AOCs and do it all under one umbrella. The original plan was probably 5 people, a turnover from probably 500,000 per year. We were working, having just a focus on that. And that was, the good thing is that we started already with, I think with day 1, we had already 3 planes. So from 3, it came 5, then we took on quality management for a customer. And so it, with bits and pieces, let the whole company grow. But yeah, the idea behind it was to being self in control. That was my idea, and also to provide, because as I said, the company that I worked before went bankrupt, and I wanted to create at least a few jobs for my colleagues there. So basically, the whole founding team of Primus Aero were former colleagues of me and friends. So that's it's
very nice initiative.
So, yeah, exactly. That was
so
the idea behind
what
it.
you mentioned is actual AOC operators, they found value in outsourcing CAMO rather than doing it in-house. Do you think
Yes.
it's more effective and efficient for them doing it through outsourcing to a specialized CAMO organization?
Certainly, because you have to have your now it's called nominated person continuing airworthiness by the regulator, but let's call it the PCA. Usually you need to have your PCA, your nominated person. So if you employ one guy, then you have someone on payroll for, if he's decent, for 100K per year. So that's quite a burden for when you just run, let's say, 2 or 3 planes.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, the workload is not a full-time job in that position, especially when it's when you have just such a small fleet, especially when you try to lean it out. And what I mean with lean it out is, here we have for every manufacturer at least one specialist, so they know when there's an SP coming out on that type, that SP is applicable on those 5 planes. So he just has to read it once, not 5 times, and implement it into the aircraft systems. That creates a much higher efficiency, and that means our people could do more planes, meaning the cost per planes are coming down, and a big part of the cost savings is passed on to the operator.
And how do they pay? Do they pay a fixed amount per month, per aircraft, or based on hourly charge for the work actually getting done?
Usually it's a monthly charge, because the workload is quite similar. It doesn't, if the plane flies 300 or 600 hours, doesn't make a lot of difference. If it flies 4 times the amount, yes, of course, but then you just have to talk to the operator and say, listen, last year we track the man hours that our staff needs per aircraft, because also the aircrafts are different. Some you have a high demanding customer that wants to have any bolt and washer justified. So then you have to put a lot of effort into it. Or let's say an older plane that just needs a lot of attention, or there's something new coming out of warranty. So you have to track which aircraft takes more effort than the others, and that you need to explain to the customer. But it's the usual fee is a monthly flat rate, because the variations are just minimal, let's say so.
You also provide the CAMO services for aircraft owners, those who decide to fly privately as well, right?
Yes, yes. There's the option for aircraft owners, I mean, to fly in the EASA non-commercial complex operation, NCC. We could do that also, or you go offshore. We have the aircraft that we are managing are registered under P4, Aruba, or T7, San Marino. But we also have the Cayman approval. So every register has its advantages and disadvantages. But if you want to fly private, it's an offshore registry, for example, would be something I would recommend. Still, you need a decent CAMO for other reasons, even though the regulator probably doesn't require one. But at least for when you sell the plane, then this comes in handy. So
it's for their own benefit at the end.
Exactly. No, if you have a decent CAMO, even if the CAMO is more expensive, like we are certainly not the cheapest, but a CAMO has to pay themselves. So the money you give to the CAMO should come back as an investment, at least into your aircraft or into your maintenance. That's why you also need to pay them decently, because they have to invest a certain amount of time to make a good job. You cannot demand for someone that has just, because you pay him nothing, so he has only probably 2 hours a week, just to over exaggerate, to do the job that takes 40 hours. It doesn't go together. It's some customers don't understand that, because 20 years ago it still worked somehow, or under FAA Part 91, where you basically need nothing. But when you sell your plane, this comes back. When there is no decent documentation, the sale is complicated. You will have deductions on the price because nothing is according to standard or to a certain level. You don't get your finances, because what we also do is for banks, we do asset inspections. So we go once a year to the planes they finance or they lease and inspect the condition of them. And if the condition and also the documents are not well, the lessor comes back. So then you have to invest again. And I strongly believe to do a job right the first time, not so just to see the minimum standard and then correct what's necessary. That is not our approach.
But how are you different? How is Primus Aero different? You mentioned that you are not the cheapest. So what makes the operator and the owner comes to you rather than all the companies out there?
How are we different? I think a very big differentiation is like on the Porsche, where the braking linkage is out of carbon fiber. Everything we do underneath is also to the best of our knowledge. We always try to do the best we can. There is no customer A, customer B. They're all, if you call one, they're all treated to the best level we can. Also, it starts with how the documents that we prepare, like manuals for the customer, the formatting of the manuals. You know how often we get, just sorry to say, shitty standard manuals where there is not, where the formatting is just crap, where you have to invest half a day just to make one revision instead of 5 minutes. So again, the cost coming back. And I think there is the big difference. Just the effort and everything is taken personally. It's like our interview today. We are not talking from just the laptop. We've set up a decent camera, decent light to make a decent podcast. We couldn't get the microphone to work, but learning for next time, there will be a microphone on the next podcast, for sure. And so we always, if we see that we are not, that we could do better in some places, on the next try, everything is changed. So there we are constantly improving. That's why we are always 1-2 steps ahead. You see it partially in our marketing. You see it partially. Sometimes we see like the partner network that we have established. A few weeks ago, one of our competitors came up with a copy-paste model of it just a few weeks ago. And things like that, you know. Now also we've started with using social media more extensively than traditionally in our industry. And now the rest is also picking up, but we are already working on the next idea. So we always try to improve, and that is the name Primus means something. Primus is the best in class. And that is what we truly believe. You have to follow that. You know, we don't play. You know the theory of the finite and the infinite game. The finite game means you have a target. When you reach it, then you stop. You know, I want to have 10 million. That's it. We play infinite game. We always want to be better than yesterday, and that's the whole team here. This is a team of overachievers.
Wow.
Sometimes hard to find the right stuff.
Absolutely.
Because overachievers are just the cream of the crop. But at the end of the day, it's so much fun to work with them. And I'm so proud of working with them. It's sometimes I feel like when I see like our EBACE booth, you know, when I had nothing to do with it. When I see what the team is achieving, and we were the only booth that dismantled the booth personally. From even the coffee milk we had with us was brought and custom cleared from Austria. So we had local delights. Everything was done from here or brought from here. Here, we had our own gin distiller with us because from a local gin distiller here. So he was with us on the booth. As always, the standard is always higher than the average. That is what I think, that is what the big difference between us and.
Yeah, so you should be proud having a team that's having self-motivation for success, having an end goal which is always changing, and having also the first mover advantage. You are leading the way for others. I'm sure you should be proud of all of that.
I'm super proud of them. And sorry.
No, go ahead. Yes, you must be very proud. And I congratulate all the team for this success.
Thanks. And one of the differences is if you come up with something new. Like I was last week in Milano to pick up our first our best flies first AW169 helicopter. Mm-hmm. We haven't done helicopters. We started helicopters last year when Nuno, you know him, came and said, "Well, I get helicopters." So okay, we go for helicopters. 2 weeks ago, we got the first E190 jet airliners. That's a different game. Okay, so we adapt. We find the right stuff to do it, and we adapt to new challenges. There's never we can't do it. We always find a way to do it. That is, I think, also a very big difference.
So you have a get job done mindset as well. That's amazing advantage.
Exactly.
You just mentioned about EBACE. This EBACE was the first in many areas. It was the first EBACE to be held in 3 years. And it was the first EBACE in which Primus Aero have a booth. So how was your experience?
Fantastic. I mean, it was the good thing, as I said, I had luckily little to do with building up the booth and designing it and hosting it actually. That was all a team effort. But what was a very good, just when do you remember that while you have been on the job, you didn't have time to touch your phone the whole day? Mm-hmm. How many years is that ago?
It's not easy.
I would say in my case, sometimes probably 20 years, if. And on EBACE, on the second day, on Tuesday, I looked at my phone the first time at midnight.
Wow.
Because we were so busy meeting people, talking, discussing things, running around. It was so busy that I even forgot about my phone, which is in our modern world just not happening.
Especially for someone who's running his own business, it almost doesn't exist.
You get the idea. And so this was the experience for us was very good. Is there room for improvement? Certainly. It was our first EBACE. Like when our meeting room was constructed like an aircraft fuselage, so round, and Unfortunately, it didn't have any ventilation. So after 2 minutes, you had to open the door because you were just running out of air.
No airlift.
Exactly. But yeah, you learn from that. Next year, our booth will have a ventilation.
Yeah. You just mentioned that you are running a network business model for your CAMO services and that there is a competitor who tried to copy this business model. Can you elaborate a little? How does this work?
Yes. The idea behind it is there are a lot of small or 1 or 2 people CAMO organizations or CAMO-like organizations. There are plenty of former PCAs or people that have been with an operator before that do airworthiness management without having the approval and working under an EOC. So you have always 1 or 2 people or maximum 3 managing a few planes everywhere. In Vienna, there are certainly 4 or 5 around. In every major hub, you have them. The problem is they're all competing with each other. So they're all doing, all following the race to the bottom. The only thing people try to sell, people try to get customers is sell over the price. And this is not going to work. At the end of the day, there's nothing left for anyone. The only one who's benefiting out of it is the aircraft owner who pays on the other side $250,000 per month just on leasing rate. So that $10,000 per day just for having his jet sitting there doing nothing. And they pay, sometimes I've heard offers about, below €1,000 to manage those planes, which is ridiculous. And so we said, okay, instead of everyone competing with each other, let's bring everyone onto one table and market under one brand, and all have the same price structure. Of course, we cannot have 4 Primus Aero offices in Vienna. This would not work. Besides, Austria is basically our homeland. Here we are. But internationally, to have a Primus, the goal is that we have, and we will have partners in France, partners in Switzerland, partners in Ireland, Italy, Spain, Bangkok, Australia, some in the US, all working to the same standard. So it's according to our procedures that just the establishment of our approval costs more than 100K. And so you to get that approval scope. So if you're just a small company, you cannot invest that. With us, this comes for free. To use our approval, work to our approved standards that we have developed through the years. I mean, this is we are now, I think, 36 people for a CAMO organization. This is pretty big already.
Very much.
Just to have that kind of know-how base and firepower is just helpful for everyone. And so if someone wants to start his own business because he's probably fed up like I was 12 years ago, then we can help him establish a company. We have all the processes and how we do it. Of course, France differs certainly from Thailand, but those are basically fine adjustments. Everything that people like aircraft engineers are bad at, which is marketing, which is accounting, is taken off. That's done here. So we can help everyone, or we can help people to stand on their own feet.
It's a very innovative idea. I love the idea. It's very innovative.
And at the end of the day, we will have Primus Aero offices all over the world.
It's a huge strategy, global expansion at the minimal cost. Very brilliant. So
exactly.
you just mentioned
win-win. There's no one losing. None.
Absolutely, absolutely. You just mentioned that you are an aircraft engineer, and this is great business strategy. And you took your business idea and you made it a very successful business. Do you have a business education? Do you consider business education necessary for business success?
It's certainly helpful, to be honest. I didn't really had any formal education. I had to learn it by doing, which means I burned a lot of money on it. I remember once, and things like that. When I started my first business, My accounts were not done by an approved tax advisor, but someone who said he is, but I didn't check it. So at the end of the day, I was sitting at the tax office making my tax declarations with the guys from the feds, because it was not done properly, and I would have been fined hugely. And these are things that we will bring now to the table for everyone who joins that know-how. I think, or like we employ people, is we employ attitudes. We don't necessarily employ people because of their know-how. We employ people because of their attitude. Because when you're willing to learn something, then nothing is a problem. It's like when I became technical director, I came straight out of the hangar. And I had to run a maintenance organization and a CAMO organization at once. I had no clue about it. But I was, when I started that, I was sleeping 6 months in the hangar. So what Elon Musk did, I did earlier. And it was nothing instead of working and sleeping. And I got it done. But that's a question of attitude. If you have the wrong attitude, you can have whatever education you like, it's useless.
Actually, the attitude, they say that attitude is a difference maker, and definitely it is. Thank you so much. Thank you, Stephan. I appreciate this advice. I'm sure also the aviapreneurs listening to us are willing to have your few words about how could you achieve this success. An advice in a few words. How could you make it from employment to having a business which is employing 36 people, as you mentioned, and still growing to be a global organization? What do you recommend them to do to achieve the success you have achieved?
In a few words, work your ass off. That is the most important thing. Don't suffer on setbacks, because we were, for example, we were on the way to here. We were bankrupt nearly twice. One because of me, once because of the partners that we had back then. But you learn from it. And the thing is, it's like a boxer. When you get beat down and you get the count of 10, you're out. And when you get up, you get another chance. It's even in Rocky it said it's not how hard you can hit. It's important how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. And that's what it is. The more successful you become, the more the bigger you get as a target. So people will try to bring you down, and you won't close all sales pitches that you have. It's just you don't get all the girls you try to get, and that's the way. That's the same thing, you know. You just have to attract the right ones, and so it's also with customers. But yeah, I think the most important thing is grit and curiosity. You need to stay curious. Okay, what's next? What can I do? Okay, this didn't work. Take it off. Next. That's Never indeed. Get frustrated. All right, that's never get frustrated. It's easily said. Of course, everyone gets frustrated, but stand back up.
Absolutely, it's not easy not to get frustrated, especially when you put a lot of work.
Exactly. Now, sometimes when you invest into a customer weeks and weeks or when you actually, you know, that carrot in front of the donkey to keep him going, when the carrot is already here and finally it drops, you know, and you say, okay, for nothing, and you wasted hours and weeks into something and then it doesn't materialize. Of course, it's frustrating, but okay, brush it off. Next.
Definitely. Persistence pays off at the end.
Yes.
Thank you, Stephan. I appreciate the advice and I appreciate your time and the experience and knowledge learned from talking to you. And I wish you all the best and the great team you have.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. If the listeners would try to get in touch with me or have some further questions, most will find me on LinkedIn, I guess. I'm open to questions. I'm trying, or I mentor as good as I can. I mean, of course, there's no time for a full day job, but I think when you give, then something comes back. So that is a very important thing for me.
Thank you for the offer. I'm sure the listeners are going to take advantage of it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Adnan. Bye.
Have a great day. Thank you all aviapreneurs listening to us today. I hope you enjoyed the discussion as I did. I look forward to seeing you again next week with another great aviapreneur. Have a great day.